Here we are on Crick Buzz Live. There's one thing this proves to everybody, it is that Rohit Sharma must always open the batting. It was an incredible innings, and because he has that extraordinary ability to get going at the end, we saw a score that looked like 175, 180 at one point. Zach suggested it could get to 200 was because Rohit was batting, and India only fell 5 short. 195, 111 of 61 balls. He's unstoppable was Rohit Sharma towards the end. KL Rahul, 26 of 14, he must always be in your side, and that means 62 runs were put on in the last 28 balls after Shikhar Dhawan had scored 43 of 41. Rishabh Pant was sent in at 3, the idea was good, it didn't come off, it's one of those days. Right, 195, anything you saw in the track that suggests it could be gettable?
In fact, the track has looked difficult to bat on. The ball is not coming on to bat that easily, and that's why this Rohit Sharma's 100 is even more special, because you need a special player to get to this kind of total on this kind of a surface, which is not really suggestive of providing any kind of special assistance to batsmen. So I think I would say that's why the brilliance of Rohit Sharma is above par in this match. This 100 is very special because of that, and I think Indian team has reached above par score on this. So from here it's Indian team's game to lose. I think it's not West Indies game to win, but I think if the bowlers do something really drastically wrong, then only you can lose the game. You never know, some batsman might come and play a blinder, but doesn't look like it is that kind of a track.
Sometimes T20 makes you immune to numbers because such unbelievable things happen. But 100 is still a magnificent feat.
Oh,
at international level, you don't always get weak bowlers. In IPL, you might get one weak bowler you can target. Rohit now has 3 T20 international hundreds in the last 11 months.
He's just been fabulous, and every time he opens, like you said, I don't know why certain teams bat him at 4, but he's unstoppable. We've been enjoying Virat Kohli on one side, and we think Virat Kohli is going at a certain pace. Look at the number of hundreds and scores that he's made, but this man is not behind, and I said that I think in the first game. In fact, when they're both batting, I feel there's a match going on between these two, which is so wonderful because it's pushing each other, and especially somebody like Rohit, who's easygoing man. He takes his time, and if he's got that match going, it is wonderful for Indian cricket, and it's great to watch him.
If you see where he got his runs in the last last couple of overs, he got over long off and long on. He's got through cover. He's got from point. He's got one paddle over here. Now you're a bowler bowling in the depth to him. Suppose you were bowling the 20th. What kind of field would you say? Where would you bowl to him? Because there's some batsmen who you can keep quiet with certain lines, but he seems to have a shot everywhere.
Well, you look at all the great players who have this array of shot and this ability to play the 360 degrees at the from the wicket, and the name which comes to my mind is AB de Villiers. And these players, when they are going, it's very difficult to stop them from scoring runs. I think the only way you can stop them is by getting their wicket. So as a bowler,
you bowl full.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get the ball in the area where it's giving you option of either hitting the wicket. You can miss time as well, but that's something you can keep it simple. So as a bowler, it's very important to keep things simple, because on their day, these kind of batsmen can trouble any of the bowlers. So that's something which you have to appreciate as well. And you've seen with Rohit, when he's in, his strike rate keeps on going higher and higher, and it's just because of the ability which he has to play all around the wicket, I think. And when you have such ability, it's never going to be easy for a bowler to contain.
Maybe next time we should keep a microphone live when we're just sitting and chatting here, because you get the most candid comments when that happens. And when that last over started, Ajay Jadeja was sitting here and saying, "Ab ye kahan marega?" And he hit everywhere. I mean, that even that shot, he played it so easily.
Yeah, because you need to work with bowlers' minds as well, and he had figured out he'd got a full toss outside off stump. Last over, he would have seen Brathwaite bowl a lot of Yorkers. So that's the length that he's going to bowl, and then the fields give you a little options. So once you've got a couple of boundaries on the other side, towards the end of the inning, the bowler is going to come towards your pad, and then he plays that. And he plays with bowlers' minds more than just the ball.
It's happened with you 2 or 3 times, I know. Do you almost get into a phase where I can clear the boundary, I can hit a boundary when I want? Or I can hit a boundary wherever I want. Okay, there's a fielder there, I can hit there.
Yeah, if you're batting 30, 40, 50 or anywhere past that, and you've been around, and especially if the bowlers come back to bowl a second spell, then there is the possibility that you would be in that frame of mind. But if you, whatever number you're batting and it's the first over that the bowler's bowling, then it's very difficult to be in that mindset, because you actually don't know what the bowler's thinking at that stage. At the end, I believe this is of course a game with a bad ball and the ground, but it's always the minds that are playing. So if you have a rough idea or have an inclination that this is the kind of thinking that this bowler has at this stage, you have that slight edge and you probably can prepare for that. Because all these shots, whether it's getting under the ball or any shot, because it's impossible at 130, 140 or even with Brathwaite for a human to react after the ball's been released. The science has proved it. The mind is not that quick. It's not as the computer as fast as the computer.
So you do premeditate to some extent.
Oh, of course it is. It is an entire premeditated thing. You look at the greatest players who play with ease and they have time. But suddenly when a beamer comes, what happens? Even the great players do that, because your mind has never done that. It hasn't synced with your body. The movement is always a synced movement. Practice. That's why they say go out there, practice, hit some balls, get your body flowing. So it is the mind that decides how you're going to play. Shikhar Dhawan was at the other end today. He's as destructive as Rohit Sharma. Not as destructive, but very close to him. But the mind is saying different things. Mind is saying, I need to get a big score.
In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because the fact that Rohit got 111 from 61 has covered up the fact that Shikhar got 43 or 41.
But it was important as well. I mean, one for Rohit, for Shikhar there, and you had that base. So once you don't lose wickets, we saw in the last game, you lose wickets at the top, same game, same wicket, same opposition, looks a different game. So it is important to have a base. I'm a firm believer. A lot of people believe that it's the first 6 overs that you really need to cash in. I think the difference between a cash in first 6 overs and not cash in is what? Between say 35 to 40 or say 55 to 65. Those 20 runs with add 3 wickets on either side, the whole game changes. So it's important to have that base.
Also, the advantage of taking wickets is if you're playing only 5 bowlers like West Indies were, or like India are today, if you take wickets, you can slip in a couple of overs here and there. Today there was nowhere to go. I mean, Brathwaite, yes, I remember in the first game when he started his 4th over, he'd only conceded 4 runs. Today he's gone for 56. It's just another day.
It's a different kind of wicket you're playing on, and that's what cricket is all about, isn't it? We
He's bowled
keep
one
seeing
dot
this.
ball.
Different bowlers look different in different conditions.
Actually, Zach, sorry to interrupt you. He could have bowled a second dot ball, but he chose to throw and concede 4.
It's Diwali. So he wanted to give a gift back to us. It was a Diwali
that was bumper bonus.
Bumper bonus.
Towards the end of the. But I think the bumper bonus was the first 6 overs. If you look at it, first 4 overs, just 20 runs, and after that, if you look at the end of the power play, it's 49 runs. So without losing the wicket, having a slow start, both of them still managed to get to 49 runs, which is a decent total if you have 10 wickets in hand, and that was possible only because of little miscalculation, I would say, on Brathwaite's part. He should have taken the responsibility of being the captain, bowling in that particular phase of the match, and then situation would have been
Especially
different. So I would say that was the real bumper bonus of Diwali in that first power play.
KL Rahul, 24 of 12. It's his format, isn't it? He's very inventive. Plus, he plays this back foot shot for 6 to the side screen, which is not the easiest shot to play.
Yeah, he hangs back and he gets under the ball, getting behind, and he has that ability. And it's not a cross; it's straight.
You play that ever? Back foot over.
I wish I could play shots like this.
No, I'm just thinking whether it's a new innovation, whether it's a new thought, whether bats are allowing you to play those shots.
I think the big difference is, if you say from a period long ago and today, is the balls. Because slog overs, if you put your mind back to slog overs in olden days, you would have a 45-over-old ball.
Correct.
And that white ball, then they changed it at 35, now you have 25 overs. So there's a reason behind it, because it gets really soft and it doesn't come onto the bat as well. So I think the ball comes on better, and people who use the pace, it's got a little easier in that sense. But otherwise, these guys,
Dew, it'll come on to the bat better, won't it?
Yes, so that's something which we have to wait and see how Dew plays the part in the second innings. But nonetheless, I think 195, the kind of wicket it has been, and the kind of bowling lineup which India has, I think we can safely say that if West Indies, even if they play well, I think India is going to end up on winning side.
Yeah, Shikhar Dhawan said we've got a really good score, but I mean everyone always paraphrase, sequences it with saying something else. But the West Indies are a very good side, but they can get it. But
See, if they get to 60 for no loss, then they have a chance.
in 6 overs? Or
Whatever
7,
number
8
overs, you know,
Yeah.
even if it's 8 overs, because
Okay.
West Indies will never fall short of runs. I mean, out of 100 games, they probably fall short of runs in 2 games. It'll be wickets that they'll be missing. So for me, it's their base, and if they get to 60 for no loss or 70 for 1 or something like that, and they're that stage, to get 12 and over, when it's a bigger ground, I feel it's always easier to chase
So it's-
because you
yeah.
get a lot of twos,
Correct.
the gaps are wider, even miss hits go. Because when you hit it in the middle, it doesn't matter what size of the ground it is.
That's what they tried telling Rohit Sharma as well, but he said, nah, forget it, I'll hit 7. He hit 7 sixes.
Yeah. So sixes, these guys have the ability to hit sixes, whether it's 70 yards or 80 yards. But even the miss hit, then you get those twos, and those gaps get bigger. You know, long off and deep point. So big grounds difficult to restrict
Yeah, but
if they have wickets in it.
Even if you got 2 bowlers who had a decent day, O'Shane Thomas 4 overs 27, there were 17 in
Yeah.
1 over, and Kimo Paul 4 overs 30. They still, because 2 bowlers had a bad day, they went to 195. So we'll wait and see. The West Indies, we think India favourites from here, but we'll wait and see what the due is like. There's also the effect of the wrist spinner. So all in all, India favourites, but if West Indies can come close, we'll have had a really good match. We'll give you the drift when we come back in the 10th over with Uber Presents Crick Bus Combox.